Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is the Hangout, the live stream we do just about every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We talk about comics and we have fun doing it. So if you're watching this on the replay, hopefully you can catch us live soon one of these days, maybe next Thursday. But if you're here watching live, I certainly appreciate you. So let me know that you're here by leaving a comment so we can talk in the live chat. What's up? Bunkmaster B is here. And right off the gate, he's got a question. We'll answer that in just a second. Tim says, "Hey, Kicks, what's good? Life is good, man. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you? Hopefully you're doing well." So Bunk says, if you were going to record a new Hangout intro, which NBA player who's still in the playoffs is laying down bars to replace AI? That's a good question. Who's in the NBA that can rap? I don't know. I know that I'll probably get LeBron to fake A&R the session and like invent the deluxe edition of the album. Other than that, man, I don't know. Probably Ja Morant. Ja Morant looks like he wants to be a rapper. He could probably do it. Bunk says, sometimes we don't hang out because Kicks morphs into business Kicks. Yeah, man. So I guess I'll address that elephant in the room. Yeah, we did not have the hangout last week because last week I was at a business dinner, or a business dinner makes it sound like I'm in charge. It was a dinner for my job. So had to be in a whole different city, and I had a lackluster steak. Probably shouldn't order steak from a seafood restaurant, but hey, I did because I don't know, the seafood didn't seem appealing to me at the time. Definitely should have gone for the cedar plank salmon though. C-Rook has returned from not brushing his teeth. So if you weren't brushing your teeth, then what were you doing? I feel like that's the question that we should all be asking. So today, what are we doing? We're talking. It's a real chill day. I don't have like a huge agenda. There are some items in the news that I thought would be cool to talk about, but we're just gonna hang out. We're gonna play it by ear. I haven't picked up my pulls this week, waiting for Friday, payday, and whatnot. So I've read only one book from this week's releases. It's a good one, but it's only one. So we're going to talk about that. I'll review that here on the show. We're going to talk about a couple of news items, and we're just going to have a fun conversation. So wherever the chat leads us, we'll go. But before we get into any of those very fun and very cool things, we got to shout out some people. So first, of course, I want to shout out the channel family, those of you who make content on this channel possible. So if you're not familiar, the channel family, we have two levels of channel membership on the Comics Are Dope channel. You could join the squad, or you can join as a member of the channel family, whichever tier you join. There are perks, different emojis and things like that. And really, it's just a way to show support on a monthly basis for the channel. It's like a little tip jar is the way I see it. But I always want to shout out the channel family members because, again, they make content on this channel possible, quite literally. So thank you guys. And then another huge shout out to our channel sponsor, Organic Price Books. They're the best place to go for collected editions online. If you want to end up surrounded by comics, then keep placing orders with Organic Price Books. You can use the code BJKicks at checkout. That helps to support the channel as well, while saving you a little bit of scratch. I've never described money as scratch before, but it's fun on every purchase. So thanks, OPB, for sponsoring the video. And now we can get back to the chats. Afro Sci-Fi is back. What's up, Ian? Catching you live for the first time in ages. It's midnight in the UK. Man, don't stay up too long. That's insane. It's midnight, man. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you tuning in. C Rook says, I was at a university fair thing, talked to some universities. The whole university, you were just there talking to like the building. That one was corny. That was whack. But how'd it go? You decide where you want to go? They're going to give you scholarship money? What's going to happen? Tayshawn's here. Says, yeah, I'm back. Peace, everybody. Tayshawn, did you see that Princess opened up her online shop again? Last I checked, it was password only. I couldn't figure out how to get into the site. I didn't see like the thing. Oh, well, now it's just open. So a bunch of very Virginia themed t-shirts. I'm not from Virginia, so figured I'll let somebody else go for them. But that Powerball tee at adopeconcept.com, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Not to be mistaken for Comics Are Dope. It's just a friend that I have called Dope. Bunk says, yo, Kicks, if I was looking for a dope podcast, what should I listen to? So there we go. Just very recently, as in yesterday, I recorded a brand new episode of the Comics Are Dope podcast. It is live on all podcast platforms, all podcatchers, if you will. But episode 4, issue 4 of the Comics Are Dope podcast is all about Milestone Media. And putting into context a bit sort of the cultural relevance of Milestone, especially for the time period that I was in and how that was for me discovering them some 30 years later. So that's what you can expect to listen to. And if you haven't listened to the other issues or episodes of the Comics Are Dope podcast, my man Skip and I have had really cool conversations with each other as well as comic book creators. So you can go to comicsaredope.com/podcast and check those out. And I appreciate you doing so. My man Skip is here, by the way. Says, can't stick around, but light the beam. We still on for later? I suck at confirming things. So just let me know. Tayshawn says, yes, she's planning on re-releasing the nerd Star Trek stuff for something in the water next week. Yeah, it's up there. It's up there now. The Yes Sir tees, these are so Virginia. I love these. You know what? I'm just gonna let's do it. I'm just gonna share my screen because why not? So some of you know that in a past life, I used to work in the music industry. I was an intern for a producer named Ninth Wonder and his record label. And during my time there, I met my friend Princess, or Dope. We just called her Dope back then. But she's a visual artist, designer, and she's from Virginia, and she's got these very Virginia t-shirts. So you can grab your Yes Sir tee. You can grab, well, the Dope Concept tee, just the logo. Or my favorite, the Powerball tee, featuring the lottery receipt on the back with this little promo text from the Neptunes Presents Clones. Very cool stuff. Anyway, what else is on this website? You might know of Princess's designs because she did that Sade tee that just kept going viral a couple years ago. Was it last year? Somebody was wearing it on a podcast that they're no longer featured on. So I guess that's been at least a year. But anyway, now that I've given my homie some promo, let's get back to the show. Tayshawn did a mix for when these released a few years ago. We'll post on the Discord later. That's what's up. That's what's up. The small world. I was just on my Twitter and realized that Dope and Tayshawn were going back and forth. I was like, oh, y'all know each other? Of course y'all know each other. You're both from Virginia. I feel like I sip this water more just because there's a straw in it. C. Rook says it went okay. There were some cool ones and some less cool universities. Enjoyed eavesdropping on the elitist, snobby universities being rude to people, though. Hey, man, that is not the attitude you want to take if you're trying to get into one of these elite, snobby universities. Bunk says, fun fact, I get name dropped in every podcast issue except this most recent one and issue 0, but that doesn't count. Word. You do get name dropped a lot. Now I got to see if I can keep it going. we'll find reasons, I'm sure. Actually, I know for a fact that episode 5 will feature a Bunkmaster name drop. I'm not going to tell you what I won't say here what the topic is going to be, but I know for a fact you're getting shouted out. But yeah, so the Comics Are Dope podcast live now on all podcast platforms, and I have fun doing it, even though right now, like in general, life is kind of like super busy. I feel like I've said that a bunch of times, but it's super busy. And so I don't always get to do stuff like on the regular schedule. And that was why I was afraid to start a podcast because I'm like, if I'm going to do a podcast, I got to do it every week. Right. But hey, there are 4 issues out of the Comics Are Dope podcast right now. Why we love comics, what makes a good comic, our Justin Greenwood interview, and of course, this latest episode about milestones. So if you got a quick 33 minutes, then check us out. Now, let's get to, whoops, I full screened the wrong thing. But let's get to, where is it at? Did I leave it close? All right. So we're going to do, some recent pickups. Not a whole bunch added to the collection here lately, but thanks to the homie Tim Sheeran, I have this out this week from Milestone and DC. This is Static Shadows of Dakota, issue number 3. This is the 1 in 25 variant by Jamal Campbell, who is currently the interior and cover artist on Superman. You may know him from Far Sector or Naomi seasons 1 and 2. But Jamal Campbell drawing Static was just something I couldn't pass up. I feel like it looks a little bit better online than it does in person, but it looks pretty good in person too. Can't lie. So huge thanks to my man Tim for helping me to secure that. And Tim says, how crazy was Static number 3? Ebon leveled up. Funny enough, that's exactly what we are about to talk about with the review of the week. So you guys already knew I was going to grab Static Shadows of Dakota issue 3. The 1 in 25 was a bit of a treat because they're harder to come by than I thought they would be going into all this. So that's why this got the recent pickup sort of feature spotlight. But I'm also reviewing Shadows of Dakota issue number 3 because I did read it. Now, one thing I got to say, I just got to get this out of the way because it's a pet peeve. It's bothering me. It's really annoying to me. And maybe it shouldn't get under my skin as much as it has. But DC has changed the paper stock in their comics. And let's see. I know I got an old DC book around here somewhere. All right, here we go. Dark Knights of Steel here. Issue 10. Is that old enough? That might have been after the change too. But anyway. You know what's funny? I was looking for these books and I didn't realize that's where they were. Just happened to find them. But DC books, for the most part, have been, here we go. Printed on this nice paper. I mean, nice is subjective, but it's a clear difference between this Dark Knights of Steel issue 10 and this, The Flash issue 796 from like 2 weeks ago. And maybe I'm just being picky or whatever, but they changed to like this matte paper, this almost newsprint feeling paper, and all the colors are washed out. It's like it's noticeably washed out. Like it's to the point where I would rather read these digitally than physically. And I hadn't really felt that way before. Like I've always enjoyed the convenience of digital comics, but I've not necessarily preferred them from a quality standpoint. That is a new phenomenon, and it's thanks to DC and their cost cutting measures and this like just whack paper. And it doesn't serve the content well, like especially for a book like Static Shadows of Dakota, which um, is playing with some darker themes and darker elements, such as my man Ebon, who shows up here on the first page. It's like, I don't know, man. Because of this newsprint, everything feels like a shade of gray. And I can't blame the artists. I guess I could, but it's like I don't there's who's to know like what paper stock things are going to be printed on. But anyway, outside of the paper stock, outside of this, degradation in printing quality, the story. Let's talk about the actual contents of this book. So, Static Shadows of Dakota, issue 3. This was not a big static focused issue. Here, instead, we get a lot more sort of character building of Ebon. And Ebon, if you're not familiar, was a character from the animated Static Shock series. And basically, he's the big shadow dude. So, Shadows of Dakota has had like this sort of horror bend to it throughout all 3 issues. And in this issue, Ebon is like the scariest thing on the page. We get a glimpse of a run in between him and the Blood Syndicate. We get some other things that I won't spoil, but basically, all the so-called action that you might expect, I would say, is replaced a bit or is focused on Ebon. It's focused on establishing just how powerful he is. Um, and that's even like where a lot of like the focus of the art is. Like the pages where Ebon shows up, those are the money pages. Those are the money pages. But anyway, in this issue, Ebon runs into the Blood Syndicate. He's looking for his brother. He's been looking for his brother this whole time. We get a little bit more information about the people who kidnapped his brother. And we get a little bit more information about not really information, but you get like a glimpse into why the people who are kidnapping these bang babies, like what's caused them to act. We get that in this issue. And then we pretty much set up for things to come. I don't know. It's hard to talk about an issue 3 out of 6 because at this point, almost anything you say is going to spoil something for someone who hasn't been reading the series. So I kind of stop it short there. What I will say is you don't, I don't think I, yeah, we don't get any like static action. Lots of Virgil, no static in this issue. Like I said, all of the like the focus, the real energy is on Ebon. And I think it's energy and time well spent. I think the combination of issues 2 and 3 might feel like a little bit slower compared to issue 1 that really started with a bang. But I'm excited because everything that it's leading to, I think issues 4, 5, and 6 should be just straight up bangers. So I'm excited about that. A lot of character work. You still get to see Virgil and his sister having really good moments with each other, Virgil and his family. One thing that I'm still getting used to is just the fact that everyone knows Virgil is static. Like it's not really a secret identity like that. But other than that, I mean, cool stuff. I gave the issue a solid 7 out of 10. As far as my complaints about the issue, um, not really a ton of complaints. The art just feels rushed in places, like pretty much any place where Ebon's not on screen, except like a few exceptions, a few standout pages. And I honestly think that reading it on that paper stock just made it feel worse because, as Tayshawn points out, Nick tends to use a lot of gray tones in his work, so that doesn't help in print on that paper. It's true. It kind of ends up getting sort of washed out on the page. Um, I did I did double up and buy that issue on my iPad just to compare it. It looks a lot better digitally, but I hate that that's so much of a difference, you know? So I gave it a 7. Pretty cool stuff. And that was the review of the week. DC Temple's here. What's up, man? And Kevin's here as well. Better late than never, I always say, or at least sometimes. DC Temple says, I got a good question. Maybe it's off topic, but I have a really good question. Who do you think would win? Nightwing and Daredevil or Red Hood and Punisher? I'm putting Nightwing over Red Hood because he trained with Batman the longest. And he's an acrobat, and Red Hood just shoots people, even though he was trained with Batman too. He was kind of a hothead when he trained with Batman. He's a little bit too emotional. So, yeah, I'm giving Dick Grayson the edge over Red Hood, Jason Todd. And Daredevil versus Punisher, I'd probably give the edge to Daredevil. So Nightwing and Daredevil, they win to me. And that was a good question. It's always fun to debate hypothetical or fictional characters and why one is better than another. But I mean, I guess anybody could beat anybody with prep time, right? So yeah, that was the review of the week. Static Shadows of Dakota issue 3. Not a bad issue. The highlight was Ebon and just how powerful he is. And the myth around Ebon is crazy. Like, people hear things. It's like Jeepers Creepers or something. Like, this book has that sort of horror suspense tinge to it. And I think people will like that as they read the series, especially if you read it like in trade. So good stuff. Let's talk about some things that are in the news. There are a few things in the news that caught my eye this week, including this headline. So Dynamite just announced there is a Gargoyles Dark Ages series coming up. And maybe I should exit the solo layout so you can see it. So Gargoyles, the Dark Ages. Greg Wiseman is writing it. Greg Wiseman, the creator of Gargoyles and the writer of the current series, Gargoyles. So this Dark Ages is going to be set back in the 900s, when humans and gargoyles were actually still working together in Scotland, I believe is where this is set. So if you actually read or watched, excuse me, like those first, 5 episodes of Gargoyles that made up like that TV pilot or whatever, this is set during that time or before that time period, before things came to a head and Demona betrayed the gargoyles. Spoiler alert, I guess. And honestly, I'm excited about this because this is a story that hasn't been told and it's a prequel. So it's like, I feel like anyone can jump in. Like, if you were reading the current Gargoyles series from Dynamite and you're like, okay, this is cool, but I'm not really attached to these characters, I feel like this will help you get attached. You learn backstories, you get to, bond with the characters. It's a 6-issue series. And yeah, it comes out in July. It'll be available for pre-order in May. So I'm sure we'll see it on FOC here soon. But that was a cool piece of news. Tim says, I still like Static number 3 for the writing tone of it, giving Virgil a break, giving Ebon time to shine in the limelight as a character. But I agree, 7 out of 10. Yeah. No, I enjoyed the writing. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said there. I thought it was great to give Ebon some shine, to just, again, building up the mythos around him and just why everyone is so afraid of him. I think it's cool. But yeah, so that's one piece of news from Dynamite Entertainment. And then here's another piece of news where all I read was the the headline, just to be completely frank. But Miles Morales is joining Strange Academy in August. And why? I don't understand why. But Strange Academy, well, oh, it's just gonna be one book, maybe. Strange Academy, Miles Morales, number one. So it's a one shot. And this doesn't, there's like no information in this article. It's literally just a guess and a comic book title. Ah, comic book media. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Now, moving on to another piece of news. I guess it's not really comic book news, but it's news. James Gunn assures fans that this character will appear in Superman Legacy, which means they just changed that title. But the headline, Jimmy Olsen is going to be in Superman Legacy. I don't know if that's like necessarily newsworthy. I would expect Jimmy Olsen to show up in a Superman film, but I guess he wasn't in. I can't remember if he was in Superman Returns, and I don't remember if he was in Man of Steel either. So maybe he was there and he just didn't. It didn't matter that he was there. So it sounds like he'll be a little bit more of a big deal. So that's cool. That's cool. Okay. So Jimmy Olsen was in Man of Steel, but he didn't have any big role. Oh, he was in Batman vs Superman. Excuse me. But anyway, that's enough comic book news because it's just annoying. It's annoying going through all of those ads. So DC says, I was never a fan of Miles, so I really don't care if I'm honest with you. Or I'm enjoying the new Miles series. I think it's really good. I felt like issue 5 kind of, I didn't get to review it because I didn't do a hangout last week, but issue 5 of Miles Morales was kind of, I don't know, the ending for everything that happened leading up to issue 5 was just kind of a convenient ending for me, right? Like, I don't know. And we're gonna start this whole Carnage War thing with issue 6. So I don't know. Miles might not end up being my favorite Marvel book. Well, it probably could still be my favorite Marvel book, but it may not be the top of my reading pile for the next couple of months. Flamin' Jelly Beans has been catching these on replay for months. So stoked to be here live for once. I'm stoked to have you, man. Thank you. Thank you for joining. And thank you for watching on the replay. I feel like that's harder to do. Like to watch somebody not be live, but act like they're live. I don't know. By the way, what do you think about the Penguin TV show announcement? I think it looks amazing. It's my most anticipated TV show of all time right now. I don't watch a lot of TV, mostly because I don't have time to. Even the Batman, I've only seen once, and I watched it in like 2 sessions. So I hope it's good. As far as like my reaction to it, it's take it or leave it, because I probably wouldn't watch it anywhere near the time it actually comes out. Just get me back to like movies in the movie theater. That's all. Jimmy Olsen was killed in Batman vs Superman, sadly, and he wasn't in Man of Steel. Got you. Jimmy Olsen worked for the government and was killed in Batman vs Superman. Got it. Stuff I care about a lot from Marvel in particular is Punisher and Wolverine content. Other than that, I care a lot more about DC, Invincible, and Image comics in particular. IDK, I just prefer those. I feel you. For me, I spend a lot of time in the X-Men world on Krakoa. That's where my Marvel reading comes from, is X-Men. I like Wolverine. Not the biggest Punisher fan, although I've heard this current run by Jason Aaron is really, really good. Is it Jason Aaron? Yeah, Jason Aaron is on Punisher. And then, yeah, most of what I read or most of what I enjoy usually ends up being DC. Especially during the dawn of DC that just started up. I'm enjoying they're kind of like really they're good right now. Action Comics is good. Superman proper is good. Detective Comics is good. Batman is started off great, is now okay, but I expect it to get better. Um, and then they've got Green Lantern coming next month, Green Arrow coming next month. So I feel like the future of DC is pretty bright, and I enjoy them. I feel like if I had to describe how I feel about DC in comparison to Marvel, I feel like Marvel has cooler characters, but I feel like DC has better characters, if that makes any sense. I don't know. It's just how I feel about it. DC says, by the way, what do you think about the new DC event called Night Terrors? I'm not the biggest horror fan. It's funny, like I don't mind horror influence on certain things, right? Like I love Deceased, which wraps up this week. Um, Shadows of Dakota has like a horrific vibe to it, but all in all, I don't really like seek out horror stories. So Night Terrors doesn't sound appealing to me. I'm probably gonna end up checking it out anyway, just because it is like the main DC thing going on this summer. But I'm kind of reserving judgment, holding out until the free comic book day preview comes out in just a couple of weeks. What, 2 weeks from now is free comic book day? Saturday, May the 6th. So yeah, that's when I'll have thoughts about Night Terrors. But for now, it's just like, eh. DC says depends on for who. For me, Batman is the coolest. Punisher and Wolverine are badass too. For me, Aquaman is also a really cool character. So I guess it all depends on people's opinions after all. Word, word. Is anybody watching Superman on the CW? I'm watching it and it's really well done. I watched the whole first season of Superman and Lois. And are there 3 seasons or two? I feel like I watched the first 2 seasons of Superman and Lois. Um, and maybe I didn't finish season 2. But now season 3 just started, right? And they got a new Superboy. Um, so I kind of fell off. I watched that whole Steel arc, like Steel coming from the future or wherever he came from, this alternate reality, him and his daughter, not niece. Um, so yeah, that was the last arc that I watched. And was it Zod? Is it Zod? I don't know who it was, but the cousin or the brother, Kal-El's brother or whatever. Yeah. It's been a minute. I'm jumbled up on like where I or my information, what I can remember of the series, but I liked it while I was watching it. Superman and Lois is great. Also, can't wait for the new animated Superman TV show. The short teaser reminds me of Invincible, which sounds great. Word, word. Yeah, I talked about that on the last Hangout. I'm trying to remember what it was called. Superman Adult Swim. My Friend Superman. Of course, that's what it's called. Still exists and is coming to Adult Swim. Yeah, it's definitely got like that kind of anime inspired or looking animation style. Um, as does Invincible. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. I watched to the end of second season because third season of Superman and Lois is not available in the UK. Oh, word, word. We got a lot of UK viewers here. C Rook's in the UK. Um, I believe C Rook is in the UK. And DC Temple's here. That's very cool, man. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. So the only review of the week was for Static Shadows of Dakota issue 3, but I've been getting caught up on Flash. I've been reading up on Flash. I am in the middle of this issue, which is the 1 Minute War finale. And I don't know, man. It's not doing it for me. It's not bad. It's just not great. Like, I don't know. It's fun, but I feel like maybe it just didn't take as many issues to do what we're doing here. And the ending, or at least what it's shaping up to be, just kind of feels abrupt. Not abrupt, but just like rushed. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's hard to talk about it without spoiling it, and I also haven't finished the last issue, so there's that. But all in all, the 1 Minute War just feels like it doesn't feel like it's an event, if I'm honest. It feels like a regular story arc, and I feel like if it just came out once a month without the fanfare, it would be just fine. And I guess that's what Jeremy Adams' Flash has been. Like, it's been good with like great points. And maybe that's why they're trying to replace him, because they want something just like bombastic, like just can't miss Flash. But I thought it was good. Like, I always enjoyed it. But yeah, this feels like just trying to make something out of something that didn't really need to be so much hoopla. I don't know. 4 issues left. We'll see how it goes. Raven says, I definitely agree with Red Hood and Punisher winning instead. Is it just because they're gonna shoot? Like, is that why? Because if we're just talking about fighters, I feel like Nightwing and Daredevil are better fighters. And yeah, that's it. For Batman, I hope we'll get something like Nightfall again. I prefer more human, but Epic Batman, not the one from Scott Snyder's run where he was basically a god and defeated Darkseid with Hellbat. Word. I get that. Like, one of my favorite Batman stories is R.I.P. By Grant Morrison, who has been credited with like being the architect of like this sort of Bat God era of Batman. Like, Batman can do anything. And I like those stories too, but I do also just like just good street level detective fighting Batman. I don't need Batman to be able to like figure out quantum physics and like, you know, go to space and skydive from the moon and stuff. But I also don't mind it. So let's see. Hey Kicks, love the milestone topic on your podcast. Keep it going. Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate it. I feel like 5 people listen to the podcast, and all I want to do is make sure those 5 people get a good show. And so it's always better for me if I'm talking about something that I know intimately and enjoy. And that is exactly what Milestone was and is to me. So it was fun to do. And I'm excited for the next episode. It'll be out next week. We're filming it tonight, if I'm not mistaken. I think Red Hood wanted a father like Punisher because he's like a killing Batman. They'd have great relations, I think. Raven says, not because they have guns. Punisher's literally the god of war now in the current run. Okay. Yeah, I haven't talked, or excuse me, I haven't read the current Punisher. I read the first 3 issues and was like, all right, this is cool, but I don't need to read it month to month. I'd wait for a trade, and then I never read more. I know that Punisher showed up in Daredevil because I've been reading Daredevil. But yeah. Evolutionary Comics says, sup, BJ, did you do the top 5 challenge? I did see that you tagged me in that. Remind me of what that is again? The top 5? I saw it in my mentions and never got around to like doing anything with it. I kind of suck at creating content outside of this Hangout, this stream, and my weekly pull list video. But I'm going to get to it. I've watched that documentary on HBO Max about 6 times. It's so good. Where yeah, what I really want to do when I have time is to make like a sort of fan-made milestone documentary. Like take clips from like various interviews, maybe conduct new interviews and just throw in like all the information that I can find. Um the difficult thing about that is like I feel like what drives a documentary is narrative, and a complete history is different than a narrative, right? And so I think working title, I would call it the milestone experiment, and I would cut it right before the Static Shock animated series debuts. And yeah, I'd really focus heavy on those 4 years and what it was like, uh and what happened, all the stuff that happened. That's what I would want to. That's like a passion project for me that could easily take a year to do the way I want it done. Um, but yeah, just the top 5 books of your collection. Okay, I can do that. I can I can do that. Ooh, single issues or collected editions. It's all good. You didn't spoil anything. I don't retain information super well. So at least not in formats like this. Like if I read a book, like I'll remember that, but I'm not gonna remember whatever comment you made after reading 6 issues of The Punisher. I'm not. Is it me or has Batman books not been coming out lately? It's you, because this one came out last week. Last week? 2 weeks ago? Something like that. Detective Comics, though, I feel like I haven't. Oh, Detective Comics came out again like 2 weeks ago as well. I did a video on it on Ram V's Detective Comics. Issue 1070 was the most recent one. That's got to be coming out again soon, right? League of Comic Geeks says, yeah, 1071 is out next week. So yeah, Batman books are still coming out. And there's not as many like random Batman miniseries coming out, which I'm all good with that. Let's see. Raven says, yes, do the documentary on Milestone. I'm trying to make a custom Milestone display for my growing collection. Yeah, man. Listen, our youngest is supposed to be starting like full-time daycare next month. And then I'll have time to like hear myself think. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Have you thought about getting a job at Milestone? I'm sure somewhere in the business you can contribute. I'm sure Dennis could help you out. I mean, that's definitely like one of those sort of like bucket list things. I don't know that there's necessarily a milestone to work at. Everybody that's working with Milestone right now is employed by DC. And I feel like getting a job at DC would be like way harder, right? Um, but yeah, I mean, I've thought about it. It's not really something that I can do. It's something that have to be offered to me. And then the pay would have to be right. And I don't know. The way people talk, the type of money that I would need to make is not available in comics. So we shall see. Did you get the Jamal Campbell cover of Static Shadows of Dakota issue 3? I did, sir. I did. It's right here. Huge thanks to um, my homie Tim Sheeran. Tim is the same one that helped me complete my collection of hardware books. He traded me for the Platinum Static #1. So he's been like instrumental in helping me like keep my milestone collection complete. When books are harder to find, like he'll hunt as well and find good deals. So and he's willing to help other people in the community too. So who'd win between Batman and Lex Luthor? The fight would happen in Coast City. Each character would get 1 week of prep time. Also want to remind you, Lex has more IQ than Batman, if I'm not mistaken. If I remember correctly, it's Detective Chimp, Batman, then Lex in that order of intelligence. But I don't know. I vote Batman because Lex is a thinker. He's not necessarily a fighter, although he has fought and does fight. Batman's been doing this, so I say Batman. Dennis Cowan can't afford the business kicks premium. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. My man Danny's got one reserved. That's what's up. That's what's up. I hope we blank. Hope we don't get a Dark Knight's Metal ripoff. They need to just leave it be. It was one of my favorite events. Speaking of night terrors, is what Raven's talking about. Worried we'll get a knockoff of Dark Knight's Metal. That makes sense, but it's like everybody, because apparently in night terrors, everybody like lives in their own little nightmare world. I don't know. And I think what I saw was like the one with the Joker. His nightmare is like working a real job and wearing a suit or something. I think it just all depends on like what Josh Williamson makes as the nightmare worlds. I don't think it's gonna look like Dark Knight's Metal though. Who'd win, Batman or Darkwing Duck? Batman would win. Darkwing Duck would be too busy trying to come up with funny things to say and announcing his presence in the room. Making 5 plans in his Batcave. I think Batman could win. Jamie Foxx was allegedly signed on to play Spawn. The movie still hasn't found a director or anything yet, but yes, that is a thing in pre-production. And I did hear that Jamie Foxx was like, had a medical emergency. I think that was the official word. Rumor said that he had a stroke. I don't know. Hopefully he's good though. What's going down with the Comics Are Dope website? Any new plans with it? We've got an article coming about World Tree, a review of World Tree #1 by James Tynan. As far as new plans for the website, I don't have any new initiatives starting. I'm honestly just trying to get a handle of all the stuff that we've got going on right now. I feel like I am a chicken with my head cut off right now. And so once my kids in daycare and I have a little bit more time to put into stuff, my biggest goal is just getting organized, getting things back to like a manageable schedule, whether that's a once a week something coming out, right? In the ideal world, there will be 2 videos on this channel plus the live stream every week. There would be 1 podcast episode and at least 1 article on Comics Are Dope. So every day of the week, there'd be something going on in all 3 of our sort of formats. That's the ideal scenario. Once we get that going for a little while, then we'll talk about maybe adding new features or like a guest column like on a regular basis or something like that. But for right now, it's just like, get stuff out when we can get stuff out, and hopefully it's entertaining or it's enjoyable for the people who are consuming it. Is how I feel for the Comics Are Dope brand in general, whether it's the website, the YouTube channel, the podcast. I think my big sort of passion project right now would be the podcast. There's something, I have a vision for the podcast that I'm not sure time will allow me to execute, but I'm excited about the vision I have for it, if that makes sense. The blog is a little bit harder because the things that I would have liked to do with the blog are going to take a lot of manpower, and I don't know. this is a rabbit hole that I don't necessarily want to go down, but it'll be easier to make the podcast what I want the podcast to be than to make the blog what I want the blog to be without doing any of this full time, if that all makes sense. Um, and then YouTube is YouTube. YouTube is fun. I would do YouTube for free every day of the week if I could. So that's that. Taifa, hope I said that right. You think black superheroes should go against big name villains instead of their own rogues? Someone suggested a Bishop versus Sabretooth series. I think it just depends on what continuity the black superheroes are in, right? Like if it's Milestone, for example, I don't know that Static needs to go up against the Joker, right? Like it doesn't fit. But for something like Bishop versus Sabretooth, that makes sense. Bishop is an X-Man and Sabretooth is an X-Men villain. Like, so why wouldn't they fight each other? Like, I'm down for that. Um, so no, I guess the point of your question though, I don't think black superheroes need to be like relegated to their own little corners of their respective universes. Like, if they're just as powerful, let them show their strength because people cross over with different villains all the time. Like Shuri fighting Rhino in Black Panther, for example. So, yeah, they can go against big name villains. Chris, my homie, my friend, my collecting partner. Chris Baga says, Jason Aaron wrapping up his very long tenure on Avengers this week leads me to ask a question. What are some of your favorite creators who are on a book for a long time, 2, 3+ years? So I guess by default, it's got to be Grant Morrison on Batman, just because I read a lot of that. Dwayne McDuffie on Icon. That's another one. Other than that, I haven't read a ton of long runs. I'm trying to think. Oh, Claremont on X-Men. I've only read about the first 2 years of Claremont's X-Men, but by far, one creator defining one character or set of characters, Claremont X-Men has got to be right. It's got to be it, you know? And yeah, the rest of those I would just be like saying something based on name recognition or something. So I leave it at that. Comics Joe says, I'm still waiting for the next Who's Who. Your channel is notorious for one-hit wonders. Just shows you got more ideas than you can produce. Yeah. If there's one thing I don't want to be is the one-hit wonder guy. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, and there's a question of like the time, energy, and effort to produce a thing versus the return on investment, right? And it's not even so much like money, but I can't lie, it's disheartening to put like a ton of effort into something, whether it's editing or writing. For the Who's Who series, I have to do a lot. I'm reading all the books that I recommend at the end of it. I'm scouring for screenshots that show off power but don't spoil the story. I literally write everything I say, and then there's a voiceover, and then I have to animate all the stuff that goes over the voiceover. All that has to happen. And so like if all of that happens and it gets like a dozen views, then it makes you feel defeated. And so it's like for me, when I'm creating content of any sort, really, I try to create what I'm passionate about so that regardless of the viewership count, I'm still satisfied with what I made. Right. And I think that's where the sort of chasing ideas kind of comes from. But all in all, it's a busy period in my life right now. My day job is taking up so much bandwidth in my head. And so we'll see. I'm looking to press the reset button of sorts in June. I'm going on a week-long vacation, and I think the channel will take a bit of, it's not really a turn, but I think we'll come back hard second half of the year. You worried at all about LeBron looking real passive in the series against the Grizz? D'Lo looked awful his primary handle last game, and LeBron didn't step in and take over. Yeah, I didn't actually see the game last night. I was at church, but yeah, I I expect as a LeBron fan that if the game ain't going the way it's supposed to go, like LeBron's just gonna take over. And to be fair, that's not necessarily what LeBron does, or at least, well, no, that's not true. Playoff LeBron absolutely does take over games. Like, I need LeBron to be like game 6 in Boston. Like, I need that LeBron all the time. Like, but anyway, am I worried? Not necessarily worried. I do feel though that last night was a game the Lakers should have won. Like, you don't give a team like Memphis the confidence to beat you without their three best players. Like, you just don't do that. Because that just gives them time to get all amped up. And then what happens? Injuries heal over time. And now series is evened up. And they got all the confidence in the world. Like, so yeah. Lakers should have won last night. And LeBron should have taken over last night. And apparently neither of those, well, obviously neither of those things happened. But I mean, it can't be LeBron and Ruri are the only two people in double figures. Like, D'Lo and AD combined for 22 points or 18 points. Is that what it was? That's insane. That's insane. Bunk says, "Hey, now I'm one of those dozens watching Who's Who. Man, I enjoy making Who's Who. It's just a scheduling thing. Like yesterday, I recorded the milestone episode for the podcast during my lunch break, and I had to like literally press stop and then run out to pick up my daughter from school. So, you know, right now it's really just time constraints, and so as my time gets freed up, we'll get to make more epic things, and it'll be fun. I'm excited. Win or lose, still a Celtics fan. Lose. No, I'm joking. LeBron just lingering until he plays with his son, then he's out. Word. Isn't there a new LeBron biography out? I saw that there's a biopic coming. Are there two? I don't know, but I did see that. I don't want to see a biopic of you while you're still playing. That's just how I feel. Like, do that like 15 years from now. But maybe I'm just, I was going to say old school, but I'm not old school. I'm not old. What weapon would you prefer to get if they exist? Symbiote, a lantern ring, scarab, which would corrupt your mind, or the Mobius chair? Give me a lantern ring. There's a new book out. I saw it in the airport last week. Thought about picking it up. Word. Oh, wait. I think I saw a Facebook ad for a new LeBron James biography. Not bad. I thought you were mistaken when you said biography and you meant like biopic, like movie. But I think you're right. Author explains why he wrote unauthorized biography. Oh, come on. Why didn't they just put it right there? Jeff Benedict. Yes, this is the one. And it's called LeBron. I'd read that. Yeah, I don't mind somebody writing a biography about you when you're still playing. Cool. Do that. But this movie coming to Peacock, I don't need that at all. Don't need that at all. 3 years of exhaustive research, more than 250 interviews. That's going to be interesting. What do you think of Anansi being Miles's new code name, or am I being too black? Anansi's already a DC character now, so can't even do it. But that's quite black. Isn't LeBron involved too much in politics? I don't mean he's not running for office. I feel like you can't be more involved in running for office. Anything else is just, talking and, having opinions. And yeah, nothing wrong with voicing your opinion. But what do I know? I read Milestone comics. So, have you seen the movie Air? Seemed to be made for you. Not yet. Not yet. Um, I'm trying to get back to like going to the movies and stuff. I haven't really done much of that stuff since Squeak was born. But like if I were going to go to the movies, it would be probably an MCU movie or something that my wife would want to watch. Um, I wouldn't subject her to watching a biopic about the guys that made the Jordan endorsement deal with Nike. Nah, nothing wrong, just saying. Got you. Nah, I mean, I don't think he's too involved in politics. I feel like tweeting and being involved in politics are different things. And I feel like yeah, we make a lot about people tweeting. Peacock is great for watching The Office, Parks and Rec, and WWE Premium Live Events, aka Dope Wrestling. That's about it, but that's a good amount. I was actually watching because I went into Peacock and realized they had a whole WWE section. And so then I started watching like old footage of The Rock. I saw like The Rock versus Mankind, um, The Rock versus John Cena, and some other stuff. And then I just turned it off. But it was funny. It's fun to have that blast from the past. But look, before I leave you, I do want to shout out some books on FOC this weekend. So let's do that. Bring up. All right. So first, let us. If you were the CEO of Warner Bros. Discovery, what would be the first thing you would do about DC Studios right now? I don't know. Make a movie. I don't know because I don't know anything about building a movie studio. I feel like I feel like what James Gunn is doing seems to be a good idea to me. Like a Superman movie based on a classic Superman story just seems like it makes all the sense in the world to me. Like make your biggest characters feel like your biggest characters. So starting with Superman seems cool. But again, I don't I've never ran a movie studio. I don't know what it takes. But some books coming up on Final Order Cutoff this weekend, things that I want to shout out. The Batman One Bad Day hardcover series is finally coming to an end with Clayface, and you can actually get the complete box set for $159.99. If you go to Organic Price Books, it's only going to be $110, and that'll get you the One Bad Day, Bane, the Riddler, Two-Face, Penguin, Mr. Freeze, Catwoman, Clayface, Ra's al Ghul, and a standard size hardcover of The Killing Joke with the original covers, not the new colors, which is cool. All that for $110. It's not bad, but you got to order it this weekend to get the best price. It'll be back in stores in August. So that's cool. Notable things on Final Order Cutoff this weekend. Here's a Nick Draper Ivy cover for Batman and Superman World's Finest, issue 15. This is a 1 in 50 variant cover, which means it'll likely cost you about $50 at your LCS to buy. Maybe less, maybe more. But it's a pretty cool cover. Always enjoy Batman and Superman covers. Let's get to a series debut, though. No, I wasn't talking to you, Siri. I said a series debut. Come on, fam. Uh, Dawn of DC continues with Cyborg issue number 1, written by my guy Morgan Hampton, art by Tom Rainey, who most recently did work on Green Lantern when Jeff Thorne was writing it. They did a Cyborg story in the Black History Month special for DC. a couple months ago. It was pretty good. It's got me hyped for the series. So that's all. Final order cut off this weekend. Grab that. There are really good covers for Cyborg, by the way. Let's see what else is coming out. Was that the only? There's another. Oh, hold on. I've got a list here. All right. So the other series debut is Titans. Titans issue number 1 is on FOC this weekend. Ooh, that's a really cool cover by Lee Bermejo for Superman issue 4. $8. That's a lot of money, but cool looking cover. This one's really cool too, though. Ooh, that is dope. Anyway, series debut, Titans, issue number 1, written by Tom Taylor, art by Nicola Scott, and spinning out of the Nightwing title, by the way, which I'm like 2 issues behind on. But if you wanted to see the premier super team in the DC universe, they are the Titans for now. So grab this. It's on FOC this weekend. It'll be in stores on May 16th. So very cool. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just catching up on comments right now. Who would you justify, forgive, and kill? Punisher, Flashpoint, Batman, or the Red Hood? I don't know enough about Punisher, so I guess we could blast him. I'd forgive Red Hood because he just needs a hug, and I would justify Flashpoint, Batman. All right, so those are it for the FOC picks for DC. Let's go to everything else, basically. Arcade Kings, a book from Dylan Burnett, a miniseries, and Joe, a new face at Infinity City, has become the hottest new player at Roundhouse Arcade. Anyone can challenge it, but no one can win. Secret Pass is about to catch up with him when his most formidable challenge yet rolls into town, forcing Joe to combo his powers with a joystick, his fists, and his fighting family legacy. Just sounds fun, honestly. Is there any other reason to buy a book? Let's see. I'm trying to do FOC like on the fly is difficult. No one is getting a third printing. No one, number 1. So I don't know, Skip. Skip might have been wrong. Skip said no one wasn't good. But 3 printings says you're wrong. What else is coming out? Like I said, I like to focus on series debuts when I'm doing FOC picks. Here's one that looks cool. It's actually not a series debut. It is a hardcover collecting a series that's already been out. But Spy Superb, getting a deluxe hardcover, written by Matt Kent, drawn by Matt Kent, colors by his wife, Charlene. Humorous espionage adventure. John Wick meets Wes Anderson in this mystery thriller about a secret organization that's developed the perfect spy. Who's the perfect spy? A spy who doesn't even realize they are a spy, aka the useful idiot. That just sounds interesting to me. Sounds funny. And it's only 3 issues, and it's a deluxe hardcover. I could probably just find those issues digitally or something, but hey, I like a good hardcover. And there's a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventure series coming out. I'm not going to highlight it, but that's there. Okay. From Marvel, Fury, number 1, an Al Ewing penned Fury series in the stylings of Sam Jackson, but also the other Furies. Glamorous rogue agent with a deadly secret lures Nick Fury into the action thriller of a lifetime. His father's never before seen Fury files from the Howlin' 40s, swinging 60s, and today. But it takes more than one Nick Fury to unlock a mystery decades in the making. And to answer the question, who is Scorpio? Can't lie. That sounds interesting. Sounds real interesting. So there's that. And that's That's about it for series debuts from Marvel. Oh, except, except another miniseries, Storm, written by Ann Nesenti, art by Sid Kotian. Sid Kotian did art on something else recently. I'm trying to remember what it was. This is one of those like set in the past continuity, written by an older writer, Ann Nesenti, who, if I'm not mistaken, did like some wasn't editor in like some of those original X-Men Claremont days. But Storm faces the blowback of her powers. Mutability, weathered by her top-notch fighting skills, blah, 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 blah. Elemental power emerges near X Mansion. It'll take her to the limits of her powers and beyond. Mohawk X-Men. Cool. Sounds cool to me. You can grab an autographed and sketched version from Kent's website. Speaking of Spy Superb. Okay. That sounds cool. Let's see. Comics Joe says, DC's releasing too many books now. I'm gonna have to switch to digital so I can afford it. Word. Yeah, the DC Ultra membership is honestly worth it. It's $100, but you can probably find it on a discount, and you get access to every book DC releases just 30 days after it comes out in stores. If you're like me, you tend to read things a little bit behind schedule anyway. And so often I will just read a book right before the next one comes out that Tuesday. And if you're not like me and you don't still buy stuff physically, you can save a lot of money. And honestly, with DC switching to this like crappy paper stock, it's more and more tempting to just drop every DC book or most DC books and just wait for them digitally. So don't say I told you to do it, but it's an option for you. What else is on FOC this weekend? Dynamite's got a new Elvira book coming out. And other than that, we just got a bunch of like super indies. Let's see if there's anything like cool looking. Metal Shark Bro Volume 2 is going back to print, and it's on final order cutoff this weekend. So that's pretty cool. Hey man, definitely drive safe. Thanks for stopping in, Rupert. I appreciate you, dog. Drive safely. So yeah, Metal Shark Bro Volume 2. If you didn't grab Volume 2, it'll be back out, available through your comic shops. And that's about it that I'm going to highlight. So that's it for FOC for this weekend. We'll talk about, I'm probably going to do an FOC video sometime tomorrow anyway, but there's a quick preview of everything that I'm going to be picking. And with that, every Tuesday, with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night, man. I really do appreciate all of you. Appreciate all of you for stopping through, watching the stream, hanging out with me. Next week, I'll probably actually have a topic next week. I think next week I'm going to attempt to tell you what my favorite series on shelves are, because I'm like this close to being caught up on everything on my pull list. So I'll probably take advantage of this weekend. I got to go put brakes on my car tomorrow. So while I'm sitting in the car dealership waiting for my brakes to be fixed, I'll be reading comics. And so next week we'll talk about what my favorite series of the year are so far. And that'll be the day. That'll be it. So appreciate you all stopping through. Drive safe, get home safe, all those things. And I'll see you guys in another hangout real soon. Peace.